High jewelers, diamond and colorstone traders, consumers, diamond purchasers, as well as the student of gemology. We are continuing with our diamond series here, the knowledge sessions on diamonds as well as color stones. Today's topic is going to be the comparison of clarity standards of different institutions. Now, before I start with today's topic, I would like to bring it to your notice that we are a professional gemological institute in Zaveri Bazar, Mumbai, that is Universal Lab, and we are giving the reports for color stones identification, treatment, as well as the mine reports. We are also providing the reports for diamond grading for loose diamonds as well as for diamond jewelry. We are also conducting courses, professional courses on diamond grading as well as on color stones identification. So coming to the today's topic, the comparison between the different standards in clarity from different well-known institutes. Now, as we know, we have already made it clear in one of our videos, when we talk about the clarities or the clarity grades which have been created by the different institutions, we call them clarity reference standards. Okay, so they are going to be a pure reference and we are not going to call it any standards as such. Every institute has its own reference they have created for clarity, color, etc. for the diamonds. So the question is how they create these clarity standards. What are the basic? Now, if you realize some of the basics for creating clarity references is, of course, there has to be inclusions as well as blemishes in the diamonds. Inclusions are some imperfections inside the stones. That is, it could be a black spot inside the diamond, it could be a crack inside the diamond, it could be some crystal inclusions inside the diamonds, or it could be anything else. So that is called inclusion. So anything inside are called inclusions, and any surface defects like we have chip or girdle broken or aculate broken or cavity on the surface or pits on the surface or the polishing lines, etc. So these are the physical damages on the surface and they are called blemishes. So you have to see both inclusions as well as blemishes and then come to conclusion what is the clarity grade of a particular diamond. Now, for that, so to put a particular stone in a particular grade, you have to see the number of inclusions or blemishes. You have to also see their position. Where is it? Is it in the center of the diamond or it is on the side where it can be hidden in the setting? Number of inclusions, more the number of inclusions, lower will be the category. The type of the inclusions, like say for example, say on the table you have a same size black spot and same size white spot. Naturally black spot would be more clearly visible and naturally the diamond with that black spot will be downgraded. Then you have to see the visibility, the relief of the inclusion also, how easily it can be seen. So these are the different factors that you have to see in the diamond and decide the clarity of the diamond. Of course, one of the most well-known reference, the clarity reference, was created by GIA. Now why I am saying well-known? Because I would like to appreciate this particular institute because whatever they were creating, they are willing to spread that knowledge throughout the world. And that is why if you realize today, because they shared their knowledge, their certificates of diamonds are more common in the market than any other institute. Today they have taken a major chunk of the international market because they were willing to share their knowledge. Whatever they were creating, they have been sharing with the market, and that is where they went ahead of others. And that is why today everyone knows the GI standards, but not everybody is aware of other standards. So what happens when these other institutes, when they write their clarity grade, by compulsion they have to write the GI grade also next to them. Then only majority of the traders all over the world understand what is the clarity of that diamond. So that is why I always appreciate the way the GI has been spreading the knowledge of diamonds, color stones all over the world. So let us talk about naturally the GI first, their reference on clarity. They start with flawless, that means absolutely there is nothing in the diamond seen under 10x magnification. That means now if you realize all these definitions are under 10x magnification. So under 10x magnification, if you see no inclusions, no blemish at all, then the stone can go in flawless category. Then comes internally flawless. That means inside there is nothing. The IF category, what they call it. Internally flawless. But it may have a small natural just below the girdle which cannot be seen from the table view. And such stones can be considered as a clean category. Natural, whatever that tiny blemish is so tiny that it can be hidden in the setting, it is not seen, and it's not any major setback to the stone. And that is why it can be certified as internally flawless. But the moment they start seeing anything minute inside the stone, any minute inclusions like white spots or a little bit of a cloud or a few pinpoints, then or maybe a tiny black spot which is very difficult to locate. So these are the inclusions now which are very difficult to locate under 10x magnification, or they are called very small inclusions, and that's why the grade is called VVS, very small, or very slight they call it. So in VVS there are two categories, VVS 1 and VVS 2. Then going on to the next category, that is the stones with a minor inclusions or blemishes. So from VVS we are going down to VS, that is very small inclusions. So these are the inclusions where you put on some efforts under 10x magnification, and yes, you are able to see those inclusions, but the inclusions are not that big. You will not be able to see in a solitaire, you will not be able to see those inclusions under without any magnification. So that is your VS category. But as the size and the number of stones, number of inclusions or blemishes increases from very small, the inclusion size becomes, or the stone becomes slightly included. The short form is SI. So next category is SI, slightly included diamonds. In SI again they have two categories, SI1 and SI2. And then we have the lower categories where the inclusions are more obvious. So the stones, these diamonds have inclusions or blemishes which are obvious to the naked eye, and these inclusions are called included or I category. That is, they have three categories in I category, the I1, I2 and the worst is a I3 category. So if there is a one huge feather on the table, they might just call it a I1. If the stone looks about 30-40% included, they would call it a I2 category, and more than that included, that would be considered as a I3 category. So just to repeat, they have flawless and IF which goes in a clean category. Then they have VVS1 and VVS2, which goes in a very small inclusion category. Then they have VS category, that is VS1 and VS2, where the inclusions are small. So it's a very small inclusion category or a minor inclusions of. In fact, in VVS category, the inclusions are called minute. So from minute, there is a minor, and then the minor inclusions going on to the noticeable inclusions, where the grade is SI, SI1 or SI2. And then from noticeable, we are going on to the obvious inclusions, which are visible to the naked eyes, and that obvious grades are I1, I2 and I3. So this is a basic reference for clarity as far as GIA is concerned. Now if you compare that, especially with another American institute, that is American Gem Society, they generally have all their references, whether it is a clarity grade or a color grade or even the cut grade, they always go from 0 to 10. 0 is the best category, 10 is the worst category. So like say for example, for flawless or internally flawless, they have 0 category. For VVS 1 and 2, they will have 1 and 2 categories. Then 3 and 4 will be allotted to the VS category. Then 3 and 4. Then we have 5 and 6 and say up to 6.5. That is allotted to the SI categories, SI1 and SI2. And then say 7.5 or let's say 8, 9, 10 would go to I categories. But then when they write that number on their certificate, next to that generally they write GI grades also, so that everybody will understand it. And that is where the GI comes in a picture, that everybody wants to know what is the GI grade in clarity. Now we have also compared the GI grades with other standards, that is your EGL category. Now if you realize EGL, now here there is a twist. In EGL, of course, they have the first category, instead of a flawless, in a clean category, they have internally flawless category, IF category, and then it goes parallel with VVS1, VVS2, after that comes VS1, VS2. But in SI, they have created an extra category, like they have SI1, SI2 and SI3. Now here comes a twist. As we have decided, whatever topic we are trying to discuss, we are trying to go a little out of the box and try to discuss something different. So the question is, what is this SI3 category? We'll come to that. And then after SI, they have their I1, I2, I3. Okay. Now let us come back to this SI category, that why these people, or why the EGL has this SI3 category. Now what I have read in some American magazines, that and what people have even spoken about in the market, the information that has come to me is that there was a section of traders, or there is a section of traders who feel that between SI2 and I1 there is a little bit larger gap, and they needed that gap to be filled in by some other grade. So that was heard by EGL, and EGL took the advantage of it, and they started the grade called SI3. Now the question is, does GIA approve of SI3 category? Because this particular reference, this VVS, VS, SII, has been created by GIA. But if you realize, the GIA even today doesn't give any SI3 category. They do not approve of SI3 category at all. Now what I have read in some magazine, that it could be a possibility why they are not approving of this SI3 category. This is my guess. What probably they think that it can happen that, say for example, now a lower quality of SI2 would get certified as SI3 logically. Okay. But there is all possibility that even a higher category of I1 can also get certified as SI3. So sometimes what can happen, something which should have been sold at the price of SI2 is getting sold at the price of SI3, where trader is making loss, and something which could have been sold at an I1 category price, and if it gets certified as SI3, then the consumer is at the loss. So to avoid such possibilities, probably GIA is not approving the SI3 category. Then going to the another institute which is also famous in the Antwerp, it's one of the oldest institute which has been giving diamond certification, which has been doing diamond certification, and it was quite famous before, and that is the HRD. The HRD institute again has their own references. Now say for example, say for a clean, they generally use the term loop clean. So for IF category or flawless category, they call it loop clean, and then it follows your regular pattern of VVS 1-2, VS 1-2, SI 1-2. But again, in I category, the language changes. This is purely because the language changed. Like instead of calling them included, they use the word PK, P-I-Q-U-E. In fact, PK was a very famous word, especially in early 80s in Indian market. Because when I started working in the Indian market, yes, I had heard a lot about this word PK. That means your I1, I2, I3 category, or they call it P1, P2, P3, or they call it PK1, PK2, PK3. So that is the basic difference between the HRD and the GIA, that the clean category they are calling it loop clean, and the I category they call it PK category. So this is a basic comparison between 4 major institutes which are known for the diamond certification, and we have tried to see that we will talk something out of the book, and that is what we have tried to do here. And I hope you have enjoyed this small video. Thank you very much.